Welcome back, everyone. Today, instead of building something, we're going to be doing a few repairs on a fiberglass race fairing for my track bike. As you can see, she took a small spill last year and incurred some light road rash and a few cracks. So I'm going to walk you through how I went about repairing it. You can see here where the gel coat's popped in a few spots, and then up further you can see some cracks in the fiberglass. We're going to get started by prepping the inside of the fairing for fiberglass reinforcement. We're just basically going to rough it up here and clean it up so the fiberglass has a good surface to adhere to. Here's one of the surfaces we just prepped, and we're going to start by wetting out the surface before we lay down any fiberglass. As always, we've gone ahead and pre-cut a few pieces of fiberglass cloth before we mixed up our resin, and we're going to go ahead and get the first layer into position before we start adding any more resin. And not to be redundant, because I know I've covered this in previous videos, but we're going to be using a dabbing technique when applying the resin as opposed to brushing it on, so we're not pulling on the cloth and disturbing its position as we're applying the layers. Like always, as we're dabbing the resin in, we're also trying to press out any air bubbles so there's not any voids or pockets in between the layers of fiberglass. And now that we're satisfied with this area, we're going to be moving down to this lower area here. And just like before, we're going to start out by wetting out the surface and following the same procedures. Again, we're taking our time to be thorough here. We're making sure to dab out all the air bubbles. We're not brushing it, so we're not pulling on either of the layers of cloth. The fiberglass has had plenty of time to set up now, so we're going to go ahead and break out the old trusty Dremel and use the cutoff wheel to trim off the excess cloth here. And we're going to follow up with the sanding roll and just kind of do a preliminary sanding here. Later on, we'll go ahead and hand sand this to get a nice aesthetically pleasing edge here that's uniform. Now that we got that trimmed out of the way, we're getting a little sneak peek on what the inside looks like. Time to move the outside now, and you can see I used a little razor knife here to pop out the loose flakes in the gel coat around the cracks in the fiberglass before we move on to sanding and prepping the surface for body filler. This is going to be a first. We're experimenting with Bondo glass, which has short strands of fiberglass inside of the filler here for reinforcement. I thought it would be a good application here since we're repairing cracked fiberglass here on the outside. And as you might be able to see through the video, it's kind of a nasty product. It's pretty messy. Doesn't apply obviously nearly as smoothly as the regular gold Bondo filler that I'm typically using, but hopefully it adds some structural integrity to the repair here. If so, then it's I guess worth the hassle. I apologize, apparently I skipped a step in the whole recording process, but you can see here I've gone ahead and sanded and smoothed the body filler. And before we move on to priming, I'm going to go ahead and lay down some regular filler just to cover up any pinholes and minor imperfections. Time to go ahead and cover up the bare fiberglass with some primer here so that when we go to paint this thing we get a good bond. Now that the primer's dry, I'm going to go ahead and sand the whole surface here, primer and the painted surface, because we're going to be repainting the whole fairing here. And just make sure it's smoothed over and cleaned up and ready to go for paint. I've gone ahead and gotten the base color down, and overall it looks pretty good. If this had been a street bike, I probably would have spent a little bit more time on some of the finer details, but in the end it is a track bike, so it's one of those things where you really can't kill yourself over. You'll see here next I've got the red layer on in the insert panel there, and we're going to go ahead and switch over to the inside here so you can see where we laid down the fiberglass earlier. I didn't lay it on too thick. I don't know if you can see through the glare here a little bit there, but we'll move on down here lower, and you can see the couple of layers of fiberglass we put in, and I think it blends in quite well. It just adds a little bit of rigidity to our repair. Once again, thanks for tuning in to the video. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And don't hesitate to leave any comments if you have any questions, or for that matter, any suggestions. Thanks.